Okay, I'm going to try to make this quick, but it'll probably be a two-parter. I want to talk about something that is it's an issue that's really, really, really important to me, and it's racism. Um, I realize that the racial situation in this country is very complicated and always has been complicated. Granted, it's exponentially less complicated than it has been in the past, but it's still complicated, and I think it always will be. But something that I think is very simple about the race issue in this country is the stance and the belief of being against it. I think it's very simple. I don't think it's multifaceted. I don't think it's multidimensional. If you are against racism, you are against racism. Uh, there, when I was like, oh, I don't know, like 12 or 13, actually, it was probably, yeah, 12 or 13, not 14. It definitely wasn't in high school yet. When I was like 12 or 13, I had a black boyfriend. And my babysitter acted like it was such a big deal that I had a black boyfriend. Um, and I remember she threatened to tell my mom, but my mom already knew. My mom didn't care. And I really didn't understand why. It was such, why it was such a big issue. So I remember the first thing I did was I went into an American Online chat room, which was racial discussion. And there were lots of racists there. There were like your resident non-racists and things like that. And I, I, I noticed pretty quickly that um, most people, number one, are racist, even if they said they weren't. Lots of people who aren't racist, or lots of people who claim to not be racist, are, but they hide their racism um, with some sort of facade, be it, uh, they either they say they're educated and they, they hide their racism under a guise of being educated and knowing statistics and knowing different arguments and this and this and this, or they hide their racism behind social observations, um, which, we all make social observations. And, if I was to say that white people tend to be a little bit more stuck up, they're not as laid back as black people, that's a social observation. But if I was to say, them in words, they take too fucking long to cross the fucking road. That's a social observation, but it's also racist. You can make a social observation, you can make an observation without using racial epithets and without being racist. Like I said, the race issue in this country is very complicated, but the most simple part is the belief uh, of equality. I believe that pain is pain. I have seen people suffer, regardless of their race. I've seen people suffer, and their pain is all equal, and it's all very valid. Don't get me wrong, I might see somebody crying because they had to work 3 days that week at their part-time job. And I may think that's a silly reason for being upset, but that is still valid pain, and it hurts them so much because it's their situation. They are experiencing it. And if that person happens to be white, it has no effect on the way I feel about whites in general. If I come across a black person, or if I saw someone walking down the street and I saw a black man having a mugger, uh, I may think that's a really despicable activity, but it's not going to have anything to do with the way I feel about black people. Or if a black person tells a joke that's a really stupid joke, uh, if they're cracking balls about it and I don't think it's funny, I'm just going to be like, dude, that joke wasn't funny. But their laughter is valid. The laughter, the pain, the suffering, the happiness, those are all valid human emotions that connect us as human beings on a very deep level. Those are all very strong emotions that emit very strong energies that resonate within us as human beings, as well as within our universe. Um, and that's the core of my beliefs, that we are all equal, that we are all valid, and there is nothing that wavers that belief. There's no argument that wavers that belief. So basically, I don't surround myself with people whose minds are fertile ground for um, racist or discriminatory ideologies. If I find out that someone in any area of my life, be it my online life or offline life, if I find out that they are racist, they harbor racist feelings, or that their mind is fertile ground for a discriminatory racist ideology, I will purge them from my life. And today, there's someone I follow on Twitter who I thought was really cool because she, like me, claims to be very anti-racist. But today she started to retweet something that I found very racist. She began to retweet something that someone else was retweeting about white girl, quote unquote, white girl tears. Number one, just that term in itself denotes, sympathy towards racist ideology. To me, white girl tears. Why do you have to label something with a race? I don't understand it. So, on, uh, let's see, on March 23rd, she says zero tolerance for racism, homophobia, classism, sexism, zero. And I completely agree, and I actually think I retweeted that. But then today, she started to retweet all this shit about white woman syndrome. This involves, but is not limited to, the use of tears, accusations of hostility, whining, and positioning themselves as the damsels in distress whenever found on the wrong side of a social issue. Ironically, engagers in this behavior use them to play up the idea of delicate, vulnerable white femininity that must be protected from the demands of the brutish, subhuman, irrational, animalistic, hyper-masculinized, colored hordes and provoke rescuing responses from onlookers. This rescuing often involves simple vilification of the person calling the white woman in question on her dirt or daring to disagree with her. This terminology is usually used in the feminist discussions amongst women of color, but is applicable in general to the often noted victimized response of privileged girls, often white, rich, or heterosexual, that are not used to dealing with being confronted without delicate care. So I'm going to come on to part two.